Next up in our optics series is the Lucid Optics L7 1:6x24. Another lesser known brand in optic, I think, but potentially some great value. We'll take a look coming up next on GBGuns. So this is going to be an overview of the features, build quality, and a look through the scope. If you're curious as far as specs, check out Lucid Optics website or contact them. I'm not going to spend my time or yours reading you something that you can read somewhere else. So getting to this, it's a 1:6x24 as I've gone over before. That's the proper way to read that. What it means is you have 1:6 power magnification with a 24mm objective lens underneath this cap here. Why is that important? Well, if you've ever had trouble aligning your eye to see a scope clearly, that's because the exit pupil was too small. That's the size of the image coming out of here. That is calculated generally by dividing the objective lens diameter, 24mm in this case, by the power. So 6 power divided by 24 divided by 6, we end up with 4mm. The human eye is comfortable for most people at 3 to 7mm, which means that when this is cranked all the way up at 6 power, you should be okay. There are more powerful 24mm scopes, but 24mm objective, not the tube, it's a 30mm tube. However, those are the ones where things get a little tricky, and so you have to decide if you want one scope to try to do it all, or a scope that can do your general shooting. It really comes down to what your needs are. This is your close in to mid-range, if you will, and I've just picked this up recently because I've been so impressed with the other Lucid scopes, not optics we use. I decided to give their 1:6 a try. Back here we have a focus ring that is very stiff, which means it's not going to get bumped, and you can see there's a small dot on there to let you know where you're set up on that. That's helping focus the reticle to your eye, which is really important with this guy because it is a super fine reticle, as you'll see in the video. The scope throws from right to left. You can see at 1 power it's pretty much the 3 o'clock position. Comes with this nice throw lever, which is good, though the zoom is fairly smooth and not necessarily that hard to grab. Also has these rubber pads to help you grab onto it. So it's not a super fast throw, but not that difficult either. There are definitely stiffer scopes out there. 6 power is going to end you up at the 9 o'clock position over on the left side of the scope, so we have a 180-degree throw from minimum to maximum. Our turrets are not capped. That puzzled me for a second, thinking, well, on a scope like this, that is your close range kind of thing, you have a lot of chance for your rings to get, or your turrets to get bumped by yourself or brush or whatnot. They do, however, lock. So there's a little bit of room there, but nothing's clicking. We have a dot to line us up with the line. These have to be pulled out to unlock, and then have very soft sort of rolling clicks from one spot to the next. You set it where you want it, pop it back down, and now it's locked again. If you want to turn this and then set a new 0, that can be done with this screw here by loosening it, turning the cap itself, then setting it back down, tightening everything back down. Half MOA adjustments are appropriate on a scope of this zoom range because you're probably not going to be shooting too far. It'll help you get zeroed quicker. We can see same thing here. We've got these locking turrets for our vertical, and one thing that I like is the dot actually lines up with the line. It's just a pet peeve, but it's a little frustrating when you have a scope that in between the lines is where it clicks to. Not that it really matters that much. You're zeroing and then you're done. Why are these exposed? I don't know. Kind of doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Our illumination does not have offs in between, but it has a nice rolling locking position, and you can go in either direction, which is nice, leaving it here at 0. It's a quick flip to full power, or just 1, and it goes up to 11, which I think is a great tribute to Spinal Tap. The camera's not going to focus. I'll show you through the reticle a little bit later on, but you can see it's blue illumination. That's one I'm a little curious about. As far as getting to the battery, it's a 2032, which is great, commonly available, and it's a very thin lid. But as you can see, I can still grip it, but a little tough, and you don't have a spot for a helper on it, so that's maybe a critique there. Let's get outside and take a look at this reticle, best I can show you, to see what it looks like and if this is the kind of scope you might be interested in. Lucid Optics L7 1:6 by 24. This is a first focal plane. I have the reticle brightness all the way up, and just keep in mind you're looking at a screen of footage recorded through multiple lenses, looking through multiple lenses, so you kind of have to take everything you see here with a grain of salt. You can't see the reticle at the moment, I don't believe. I'm going to zoom in, but I'm zoomed back on my crop sensor camera, currently at about 26 millimeters, because I wanted you to see the lighting, how the glass affects it or not. As you can see, it's fairly clear. Bring the camera in some, and if we can get it to focus well, there we go. Maybe a little more. That fence post is about 8 yards away. That tree is 135 yards away. You can see only that circle and center point illuminates. The blue is a little tough to pick up. Max brightness all the way on 11 for those of you who are Spinal Tap fans. But very fine reticles. This is one of the things I've noticed about Lucid Optics. Excellent for aiming small points. Can be a little tough to pick up sometimes. This one being illuminated, I'm hoping will help. Not sure about the blue yet. I'm going to zoom in. Throw level makes it a little bit easier. And this is a first focal plane, so you can see the reticle gets larger as we come in. I appreciate that because it means that any adjustments are always true, and you can use the reticle to sort of measure what you're looking at. I'm going to try to adjust our camera angle a little bit. You can see the blue faintly showing up on the tree out there. This is a fresh battery. Looks like that's about as clear as I'm going to get it for you. But it's a very, very fine aiming point. So this reticle, probably excellent for your 3-gun style shooting at cleared torso kind of targets. Might be a little difficult to see on other targets. Turn the illumination off, and you can still see our aiming point, get a general idea there. Super fine. Might be difficult in low lighting, things like that, which is why I say this is probably an ideal scope for your competition days. Maybe not your warfighter type scope for those of you that like to play those games, but otherwise great clarity, nice fluid zoom control. It's very easy to throw the lever here. It does have that lever as you saw on the external view of it, and makes for pretty quick general aiming. If you slow down and take time to find that reticle, you can obviously get some very precise aiming. So back inside to wrap things up, is this the right scope for you? Well, Lucids are very affordable in my experience, or my feeling, compared to a lot of other options out there, and have very, very fine reticles. I love that on our higher powered Lucid that you'll be seeing later on in the series. Is it appropriate in this zoom range? I'm not sure. I think that the superfine reticle makes for great fine aiming when you're very stable and still and doing bench shooting. A 1:6 is kind of your quick off the shoulder fighting type shooting, I guess, if you will. I think a fine reticle is kind of hard to see in moments like that where you don't have time for your eye to search for it. Is the illumination going to be enough, and is that blue color going to work? That's something that we'll have to see getting this thing out to the range. It just came in, but I bought it in good faith because I've enjoyed so many other Lucid optics, especially their M7 red dot and their higher powered scope that we'll show you later on in the series. So this is kind of an interesting go-between. I have a course coming up that is a fighting distance to max range AR-10 course, and I'm thinking of taking this thing because I know at those max range they want it to be low power variable optics. So at max range, having that final reticle is certainly going to help more with aiming, not having the reticle obscure the target or get in the way. Is it going to be seeable at quick speeds? That's really a matter of personal preference and your own eye's ability. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these fine reticle scopes like this, especially in lower power. Is this something that you've been looking for and didn't know existed, or is it something that you think might be too difficult to see? I think that blue should get our attention, especially it being a full circle, serving sort of as a blue dot for us at lower power, but time will tell. Anyways, that's the Lucid Optics L7 1:6x24. Quick overview. Thanks for watching.